Good evening. The first poem is Pluck the Strings, a found round in three voices. There's not an original line in this poem. The found poem is from Brahms' Gypsy Song Cycle, Pluck the Strings. Hey gypsy, pluck the strings, the waves flow by, a kindly heaven created you. Dear Lord, do you know how often in the dead of night he kisses and cuddles his sweetheart? Dear Lord, if that were a crime, the whole world would be no longer.
Hey, Zigeuner,
do not
greif in die Seiten
deceive
ein.
me, do not
Challenge
disturb me. The wind sighs in the branches,
Lieber
sad and
Gott,
slow.
du weißt, wie oft ich
Nowhere does anyone look at me. The moon veils her face, and red evening clouds fly
Stell die
across the
schöne weite
sky.
Welt schon längst. Täusch mich nicht, verlass mich nicht. Der Wind sagt in den Zweiten Sauerstoff. Weit und breit schaut niemand mich an. Ohne Gesicht. Rote Abendwolken am Firmament.
Hey gypsy, pluck the strings, the waves flow by, a kindly heaven created you. Dear Lord, do you know how often in the dead of night he kisses and cuddles his sweetheart? Dear Lord, if that were a crime, the whole world would no longer be. Do not deceive me, do not desert me. The wind sighs in the branches, sad and slow. Nowhere does anyone look at me. The moon veils her face. Red evening clouds fly across the firmament.
Les zinganes pincent les côtes, le flotte se coule, un ciel bienveillant t'a crié. Mon Dieu, Seigneur, tu sais combien de fois au milieu de la nuit il embrasse et câline sa bien-aimée. Mon Dieu, si c'était là un crime, le monde entier n'existerait plus. Ne me déçois pas, ne m'abandonne pas. Le vent soupire dans la branche, triste et longue. Nulle part personne ne me regarde. La lune se voit le visage, le nuage rouge de soir fuit dans le firmament.
Hey, Zigeuner, greif in die Seiten ein. Wellen strömen, dich erschuf der liebe Himmel. Lieber Gott, du weißt, wie oft in stiller Nacht Küsse und Herz sein süßes Täubchen. Lieber Gott, wenn das verboten wäre. Wäre die schöne weite Welt schon längst nicht mehr, täusch mich nicht, verlass mich nicht. Der Wind klagt in den Zweigen traurig sacht. Weit und breit schaut niemand mich an. Mond verhüllt sein Angesicht. Rote Abendwolken ziehen am Firmament.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for coming. That was Gerald Bork, Patrice Melnick, and Gert Oosterman reading Pluck the Strings and Around. This is Les Mots, The Word. We're here to celebrate the many exciting literary events and festivals happening in our area. We'd like to celebrate the Festival of Words, which will be up November 6th through the 9th up in Grand Coteau. That same weekend, here in downtown Lafayette, there will be the Steampunk and Makers Fair by Cité d'Arts and the Science Museum. They'll have a literary element. We're here to celebrate Embrasser, the new journal and translation of French and English, and they're accepting submissions in French and English for the rest of this year. And we're here because Daryl Bork will be featured at the next Tennessee Williams Festival in March. He'll be having a conversation there with Robert Pinsky. Daryl is the former poet laureate of the state of Louisiana, and Pinsky is on the National Laureate Committee. He is a laureater. The writers know I already said that. It wasn't really funny. It's fine. I'd like to invite Daryl back up real quick to read one more piece.
This is a poem in honor of Elmore Morgan Jr., whose work and whose life we commemorate tonight at this art walk. The poem is entitled "The Things Elmore Left Behind." They have no work to do today, these cows of his, no calves waiting for them to rise, no cud to chew. They sit and look at us. They are not made to miss anything in the way we may miss things. A shade of blue he used to offset pink and purple and red in towers of cloud. How he set the force of water just so in pumps and rice fields. The way he could make a little bower of green on the horizon, a place you felt you could lump all you have in one little pile and live there, showered only by what the earth and air had to give. A jump you could make only because he took you there. This world, he'd say, is where you live. Right here, you do whatever work you have to do. Notice how trees kiss sky. How prairies open. Notice the cows I made for you.
Next up, we'll have J. Bruce Fuller and Brenda Carey on stage. They'll be reading J. Bruce's poem. Jay in English and Brenda in French.
Garde l'éveil. Des nuits comme ce soir sont faites pour le tracas. Quand la rivière monte, il faut guetter quoi tu préfères. Une bouche pour bouillir du fond et couiller un homme droit dehors de son bateau. Les courants sont bizarres, comme une bête qui sent une coyote. Impossible de prédire. Ça dit qu'il y a des hommes du Mississippi côté de la rivière qui veulent défoncer un trou dans notre levée. Il y a 15 générations depuis mon père et mes grands-pères à hacher une ferme de ces bois de pin, et ce sera foutu si eux autres va la toute noyer à cette heure. Garde ton doigt sur la gâchette et guette pour un étincelle. Là-bas, dans les bassins, le brouillard s'entasse, comme le monde d'une église que nous autres n'est pas permis de joindre. Mon fils, il y a des choses qu'on ne peut jamais être une partie.
Levee patrol. Nights like these are made for trouble. When the river is high, you've got to watch what you're doing. A log can blow up from the bottom, knock a man right out the boat. The currents don't act right, like an animal that smells a coyote, unpredictable. They say there are men from the Mississippi side that want to blow a hole in our levee. 15 generations since your grandfather had to farm in these pine forests, and I'll be damned if someone's going to wash it away now. Keep your finger on that trigger and watch for a spark. Down there in the bottoms, the fog gathers together, like the congregation of a church we aren't allowed to join. Son, there are some things we can never be a part of. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Next up, Michael J. LeBlanc will read his own poem, Pantoum for Woody, in French and English.
Woody's Pantoum, le Pantoum de Woody. Traverse la rivière, c'est long distance qui m'appelle, je vais chercher tes yeux verts, j'attends les nouvelles. Cross the river, it's a long distance that calls me, I will dry your eyes, I hear well the news. Tu es bas là, c'est long distance qui m'appelle, tu es là-bas au Texas, j'attends les nouvelles, j'écoute bien, on ramasse. It's long distance that calls me. You are over in Texas. I hear well the news. I hear pick me up. Tu es là-bas au Texas. C'était un long, bleu, nuit blanche. J'écoute bien, ramasse. J'ai marché les planches. You were over in Texas. It was a long, blue, white night. I hear pick me up. I walk the floors. C'était un long, bleu, nuit blanche. Soleil et après se lever. J'ai marché les planches. Bien, c'est temps d'aller. It was a long, blue, white night. The sun is now arising. I walk the floors. Good, it's time to go. Soleil et après se lever. J'ai pris le highway 14. Bien, c'est temps d'aller. Tout à l'heure, c'est 11. The sun is now arising. I took the highway 14. I walked the floors. Now it's 11. J'ai pris le highway 14. J'ai passé la ligne texienne. Tout à l'heure, c'est 11. Et bien, Port Neches. I took highway 14. I passed the Texas line. And now it's 11. And good, Port Neches. J'ai passé la ligne texienne, bouillon, larmes et grains de pluie, et Port Neches bien, tracasse pas de lui. I passed the Texas line, bouillon, tears and drops of rain, and Port Neches good, don't worry of him. Bouillon, larmes et grains de pluie, je vais pas te mépriser, tracasse pas de lui, ton cœur est cassé. Bouillon, tears, and drops of rain, I will not criticize you. Do not worry of him. Your heart is broken. Je vais pas te mépriser. Je vais chercher tes yeux verts. Ton cœur est cassé. Traverse la rivière. I will not criticize you. I will dry your green eyes. Your heart is broken. Cross the river. Bien, merci. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next up, we have David Shami and Claire L. Martin. We'll be hearing poetry by Claire, and David will be reading in French, and Claire will be reading his own work in English.
I'll go first. For the electrocuted owl. We bend to blacktop to better see, to eye the majestic, and quivering with gravity, succumb to the helpless state we must suffer when attacked by forces unnamed and unknown, compelling us to stay rooted, frozen, and so inescapably speak. O glorious, splayed in moon devotion, night descends on silent wings, cream-belly angel with black pearl eyes. O windblade, this dew is blood, this killing fire whistles in bone, you lightless dead in 6 streams, utterly gone.
Pour Libo, électrocuté. On se penche sur le goudron pour mieux voir, pour viser le majestueux, et frissonnant avec la gravité, succombe à l'état d'impuissance qu'on doit souffrir, quand attaqué par des forces innommées et inconnues, nous obligeant de rester enracinés, gelés, et ainsi parler inéluctablement. Ô glorieux, évasé en dévotion lunaire, la nuit descend sur des ailes silencieuses, ange au ventre de crème, aux yeux de perles noires. Ô lame de vent, cette rosée, c'est du sang. Ce feu assassin siffle dans les eaux. Toi, mort sans lumière, couché en rigolé malade, tout à fait parti.
Any winter Sunday in Louisiana. There is a woman who brews a hurricane in her bed, who makes love as the gumbo simmers. She is divine and divines that she is the circling cormorant that dives into marshlands and rivers, then soars, leaving snaking roads in her wake. Sweet cane burns against the rising moon. She roams with coy dogs at midnight and is witness to the last of the red wolves. The woman dances in the mud of the bayou with alligators, nutrias, and snakes. In the surf of the Gulf, She scuttles, a blue crab pinching toes of bathers, and rides salt breezes, a gull's laugh on her back. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the poets and translators who worked on this event. Thanks so much to Rosalind Spencer and Emily Thibodeau, as well as Claire Martin, for helping us organize, and for the ACA and Gwen Richard for giving us this space. And thanks so much to George Saucier up there in the sound booth, who came in. I think they're all your friends now. Thanks very much for coming. Have a good night.